Mario is Nintendo's most precious and valuable franchise. It is still the best selling franchise of all time for video games, moving about 910 million games as of May 2025 and generating billions of dollars in revenue. Mario himself is one of the video game world's most prolific characters, having appeared in over 200 games. These days, Nintendo is relatively careful with Mario's appearances in games, doling out the superhero plumber at only the most appropriate moments. However, this wasn't always the case. In fact, Mario was once a casualty to a failed Nintendo system development, and one of the many results of that development was what might be the worst Mario game of all time. Let's talk Hotel Mario. The story of Hotel Mario actually begins with Sony. I've covered this topic on other videos, but briefly. Nintendo was set to partner with Sony to create a CD based add on to the Super Nintendo. They went as far as signing a deal and creating a prototype system, the Nintendo PlayStation. Imagine how different the video game world would have been had this system been created. Arguments about the specifics of that deal, including game licensing and profit sharing, ultimately convinced Nintendo to move in a different direction. At the June 1991 Consumer Electronics Show, Nintendo double crossed Sony and announced that they would partner with Philips, not Sony, on the creation of a CD based system. Sony, of course, would go on to create the PlayStation and make Nintendo regret their business decisions for decades to come. However, the Nintendo Philips partnership never really worked out. Technical limitations and revenue disagreements ultimately meant that Nintendo pulled out of the deal. As part of the concession for that deal ending, Nintendo allowed Philips to create games for some of Nintendo's most precious and valuable franchises. That included 3 Zelda games and, you guessed it, Hotel Mario. Philips Interactive Media would ultimately publish the game for the Philips CDI, bringing in a developer called Fantasy Factory to create the game. The plot of the game, such as it is that Princess Toadstool has invited Mario and Luigi to the Mushroom Kingdom for a picnic. Unfortunately, they discover that Bowser has taken over the entire kingdom and turned it into the Club Koopa Resort. That's Club Koopa with 2 Ks, making me grateful that Krusty the Clown wasn't also invited. Bowser has set up 7 different hotels and kidnapped the princess, with different hotels being run by different Koopalings. Your job is to free the Mushroom Kingdom and rescue the princess from her status as a permanent guest. The gameplay marks a sharp change from any previous Mario game, and if you know anything about video games, you know that abrupt gameplay genre shifts almost never go over well. Rather than operating as a standard platformer, this game operates more like a puzzle. Your job, as Mario, or Luigi in the 2 player mode, is to work your way through a single screen, closing various doors of the hotel you are in while also avoiding or killing enemies. Each stage has various floors, and you have to get into elevators to get to different floors. It's annoying, honestly. And there's a lot of annoying. 80 levels over 7 different hotels. Yes, let me repeat that. The way you win is by closing doors. As Engadget noted, the game is like, quote, elevator action without the action, end quote. Like any Mario game, there are many ways to die, including touching a bad guy, running out of time, falling off of the edge of a level, or if all the doors on a level manage to open. There are also different power-ups, including mushrooms and fire flowers. All hotels end with a boss fight in which you face off against one of Koopa's kids. Beat the boss, you rescue the princess, who immediately gets recaptured. It's like our princesses in another castle, but worse. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention the cutscenes, of which there are a total of 14. One of the biggest benefits of the CDI was that it would allow for enhanced full motion video, or FMV. Considering that the game came out in 1994, FMV, at least of this type, was somewhat rare. Characters are voiced in these cutscenes, with Mark Grau providing the voice of Mario, Luigi, and Bowser, and Jocelyn Benford voicing Princess Toadstool. Benford was an actress who heard about the job because her husband, Michael Ahn, worked for Philips. She would go down in history as the first person to voice Princess Peach in a Mario game. In an interview with Time Extension, Benford would say that the job paid a little, but more importantly is that it gave her the opportunity to qualify for membership with the Screen Actors Guild. The game was designed and produced by Stephen Radosh, and it was Radosh and his team who developed the idea of theming each hotel and the infamous door mechanic. Some of the themes were, not great. One hotel was supposed to be cheese themed, but it looked so awful that the theme was never used and the artist fired. That being said, everyone involved, from the voice actors to the programmers to the executive producer himself, said that the development of the game was fun and that they were proud of what they had accomplished, particularly considering that it was new technology. Honestly, it is really easy to bash a product that hasn't held up well over time, but from all accounts, the folks at Philips and Fantasy Factory were trying their best. In a 2022 interview, Stephen Radosh said that the team worked very hard on the project, sometimes staying overnight and often outsourcing animation. He also said that the development process was, quote, unbelievable, end quote, and free of any tension or animosity. How different was this Mario game from others in the series? In the initial version, there apparently wasn't even any jumping. Yes, that's right, a Mario game without jumping. It's insane. Apparently, initial playtesting from the daughter of one of the engineers criticized the concept of a Mario game without jumping, and the game was altered to add jumping in. Nintendo wasn't completely hands off during development. By Nintendo standards, their lack of involvement was notable. According to Radosh, Nintendo's involvement was limited to ensuring that the material stayed relatively true to the canon of the Mario series. As we all know, Bowser is known for his love of resorts, so all good there. Even more interesting is that Radosh said that Nintendo liked the game and might have been considering bringing it over to their own platforms, although I couldn't find that information anywhere else aside from an interview with Radosh. Also worth noting, the game had a lot of time-related Easter eggs. The CDI had an internal clock that would track date and time. As such, on appropriate dates, different messages would replace the "Here we go" message that was usually seen at the start of the level. This included messages for New Year's, Valentine's Day, Holly's birthday, that's the birthday of one of the engineer's daughters, and my personal favorite, do not forget Mother's Day. Good advice. Critics actually didn't hate the game. In fact, some praised it. Electronic Gaming Monthly called the gameplay addictive. GamePro praised its, quote, well-animated action sequences, end quote. However, the abrupt shift in gameplay, combined with the fact that it was released on a non-Nintendo platform, made the game hard to sell. Even Philips CDI's own magazine noted that the door mechanic was strange, saying that you had to close doors, quote, for some unexplained reason, end quote. Computer and Video Games magazine said that the game was aimed more at younger players, so if you were older and wanted more of a challenge, you were probably out of luck. Speaking of scenes that didn't age well, the cutscenes. They were not great. Even at the time, the animation looked janky, with some critics calling them terrifying or straight out of a flip book. The game went for sale in July 1994. We don't know exactly how many copies of Hotel Mario were sold. What we do know is that the Philips CDI sold no more than 1 million units at the highest estimate. So even if every owner of a Philips CDI had a copy of Hotel Mario, which they most assuredly did not, Hotel Mario would have sold no more than 1 million copies. That alone makes it one of the worst Mario games ever created, if not the literal worst Mario game in terms of units sold of all time. Executive producer Stephen Radosh has said that the game was still a financial success and that it did well in Europe. As time moved on, the game's reception has gotten worse. By the mid 2000s, remixes of cutscenes began to appear, otherwise known as YouTube poops. These edits are terrible, but so is the original cutscene, so, it fits. In 2012, Mark Grau himself appeared in a parody version of Hotel Mario, dubbing his own original voice with vulgarity that I will skip playing here in the name of monetization. Nonetheless, it's funny. Link in the description. Furthermore, the poor reception of Hotel Mario indirectly helped to kill other Philips Mario games that were also going to be made by outside developers. First, there was Super Mario's Wacky Worlds, another Philips CDI game, which was being developed with Nova Logic. That game was close to completion and actually had a prototype build created, but it was canceled due to the failing sales of the Philips CDI. In 1992, developer Sigum got Philips to fund Mario Takes America, an educational game in which Mario visits various places in the United States. Philips ultimately didn't like the game as it was being produced and cut funding on the project. The entire concept here is actually kind of fascinating, and it shows that even the most stringent of corporate policies, in this case Nintendo's obsession with control, can have exceptions. Nintendo is famous for having incredibly tight controls over what games are played on their system and how those games were made for the Nintendo, all in the name of protecting quality. Yet, to extricate themselves from a bad business deal, Nintendo let Philips have access to their most precious intellectual property. The result didn't kill the franchise, but it certainly didn't help it. And that is it for this edition of Almost Something. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as I'm sure you can tell, I have a brand new and very expensive microphone, so please let me know what you think of the audio quality in the comments. I hope it's better. If you enjoyed the video, and I certainly hope you did, please click the like button or the subscribe button, or comment and let me know what kind of video game you want to see next. Also, if you enjoyed, please click on the next video that the almighty YouTube algorithm has served up for you. Thank you so much, my friends, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I liked making it. Take care, everybody.